Good day. This is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report. Welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's Friday, the 3rd of March, 2023, and we've got some interesting things to report on today. I'm going to speak about the minimum wage, the earnings threshold, the Department of Labour's mess, the new figures of employment, the post office closures, obviously Eskom, and of course good news in the Western Cape, and I've got a couple of other things. So from the Democratic Alliance, I've got some good news, and then of course I need to tell you some of the country's bad news. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's Michael Bagram. I'm an MP and the Democratic Alliance Labour spokesperson. Well, first of all, what's interesting, and it's not great news, is the new minimum wage has been put up. And a lot of people are saying, well, it was so small anyway, it's good to put it up. But of course, each time the minimum wage is put up, unfortunately, more retrenchments take place. There have been, and there will be more as we go on. The minimum wage now is 25 Rand and 42 cents per hour. 25, 42, remember that. Minimum of 4 hours a day, regardless of whether they work 4 hours or not. If they work more than that, they obviously have to get paid the more. And of course, that includes domestic workers and farm labourers. What's interesting, and what's really interesting, is that government said they don't care if you can't afford, you can apply for an exemption of up to 10%. So that's, R2.50 you can take off. But unfortunately, government itself has exempted themselves in terms of the EPWP, people who are doing on the Extended Public Works Program, have exempted themselves from the national minimum wage by saying we're only going to pay 13 Rand and 97 cents per hour. That's 14 Rand an hour. Government's going to pay, but the private sector has to pay 25.42. That's very rich of them. They say no, they can't afford, but the private sector has to afford, and if they can't, they must go and retrench. How ridiculous is that? I don't know. I mean, it sounds really mad. What's interesting is that the Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nxesi, has put up the earnings threshold. Now, it's a bit of a complicated process, but in essence, what he's saying is if someone earns more than 241,000 Rand per annum, they're exempt from a whole lot of parts of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. And it's important for businesses to understand this. I've been advising people for the last 3 weeks now on this. So if someone's earning over 20,200 Rand per month, over 20,200 Rand per month, you don't have to pay them overtime, you don't have to pay them for working on Sundays and public holidays, and there's a whole lot of other sections of the Basic Conditions of Employment Act where you wouldn't have to pay the extra monies. Now, it's important to consider it. So if you've got a staff member earning 19,000 Rand a month, it's probably worth your while to put them up to 20,200, and then they're exempt from all the other sections that are referred to in this threshold. So the threshold is important. The Department of Labour. Now, the Department of Labour, Employment and Labour, is a very strange place. I feel that I'm falling down the well very slowly in Alice in Wonderland, and I'm watching the shelves go past slowly as I talk to the Department of Employment and Labour. Now, the President in the SONA, the State of the Nation address, made a whole lot of promises, and of course I've extrapolated all the promises as with regards to Labour. Now, those promises are made by the President. The President's promises, as we know, are futile. They pie in the sky. Remember, he promised smart cities and smart trains and all sorts of other rubbish. And if you believe him today, well, you'll believe in the Tooth Fairy as well, or Father Christmas. The bottom line is, one has to at least try and hold the minister accountable for what the President has to say. So if the President says that we're going to deregulate the system to let off small businesses from certain regulations, and he doesn't tell you when and how and whatever, which is typical of President Ramaphosa. He's good at the talk, he's not good at the walk. The bottom line is, I'm now harassing the Department of Employment and Labour to try and make good on what the President said. Of course, they hate me for it, but I'm going to actually pursue it the entire year. Watch me on this. I'm going to pursue it at every single portfolio meeting where I get a chance. I'm going to speak about what the President promised and what the Department of Labour has to deliver. They're not going to, but we need to push them. For instance, and you can have a look at all of this, but for instance, those promises meant that small businesses less than 50 employees would be exempt from certain parts of the employment equity legislation and BEE. We need to push that hard because BEE has destroyed business in South Africa. We know that, we've seen it, and the Democratic Alliance is pushing hard on this. Every time small business is being discussed, we're going to push incredibly hard, and especially those of us in the Portfolio Committee of Employment and Labour. The Democratic Alliance looks at these promises, the ones that suit us and suit the country and suit the economy. We're going to push them very hard on this. So hold us to account as well. We're going to keep pushing, and it's something that we have to do. Now, some good news. Hurrah! And if I had a trumpet, I'd play it. But the good news is that there have been a little bit of an uptick of employment in the country. Not much, sort of over 100,000 rand, 100,000 jobs, not rand, new jobs. Where did they come from? Where are these jobs? Who did it? This is fantastic. Let's applaud those that did the new jobs. Well, it comes out loud and clear that it's the Western Province. The Western Province created 95% of those new jobs. Let's applaud the Western Province, obviously the city of Cape Town. Let's applaud the DA-run municipalities. They are the ones creating these jobs. Yes, it was in the fourth quarter of last year, and yes, it was over the holiday period, but we're better to have a holiday other than in the Cape Province. I salute them. I salute the government, the DA-led government of the Western Province. I salute the DA city, led by Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis. They are doing everything possible to ensure that jobs are created. Now, that's a cornerstone. That's something that the DA is going to go to the electorate and say, you've given us the opportunity, we've taken it, we've proved you right that you've given us this opportunity and we're delivering. Please let us deliver elsewhere. Please come and support us in those elections in 2024. What we've done in the Western Province, we can create and around the country, and we need to do it. Okay, I must move on to a little bit of bad news. The post office. Well, the post office is almost bankrupt. We've seen in the last month another 92 post offices have been closed down. A lot of them, admittedly, by the landlords because the post office didn't pay any salary, didn't pay any rental. So the landlords have moved in and said, this is ridiculous. We're seeing closures of the post office all over. The latest figures have come out of small business closures, and when you ask the small business how much they've got in by, they're all telling you horrific figures, but they're all saying it's because of the load shedding. So the Eskom is irritating. The Eskom has destroyed South Africa. The ANC who runs Eskom have really done everyone a disservice, but not just the people, the businesses. So people are now, on top of the 2 million jobs we lost over COVID, we're now losing more than that because of Eskom. I mean, it is unbelievable. The RAF, you might remember, the Road Accident Fund, they went to court. The judge said that the senior management have to pay the costs. They took that on appeal. They've lost the appeal. So at last, the judges are now saying, we're going to hold the politicians, the senior people to account. They must pay the costs, which is interesting. Zonda, magnificent man. Judge Zonda is an absolute gentleman. Well, he's now attacked Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, who called black judges, and I quote, house Negroes. I didn't think I'd hear that anywhere in the world, let alone South Africa, let alone from an ANC minister who needs to be held to account from every single quarter. Well, Judge Zonda has now called out Lindiwe Sisulu and attacked her for that. And well done to him. Look, at the end of the day, Judge Zonda has got real problems in his courts because the government has not supplied any generators. So you can't actually run court cases in this country without generators, and every single court is being affected. So it's affected justice in South Africa. How weird. that you've got justice affected because Eskom has been stolen by the ANC. So thank you for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram, MP, member of the Democratic Alliance, a spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance on Labour, and it's Friday the 3rd of March 2023. Thank you ever so much.